And of course, what isopod video would be complete without Porcellio expansus. There's some old roach egg cases that are glued onto the bark there. But these, such a pretty species. See a very large specimen here. Put my finger by it so that you can see the size of this beautiful isopod. Quite possibly the prettiest of all species in the hobby. And this is definitely one that I want to keep around for a while, as you can imagine. That patterning, I call them Beetlejuice isopods. And if you check out my TikTok channel or TikTok account, you'll know why. This is Jim. Jim's a Jerusalem cricket. And in a moment here, I'll introduce you to his older brothers. So, here's a Jerusalem cricket. These are probably one of the most intimidating bugs anybody ever contacts me about, wondering what is this thing. And if you're not already a little bit impressed, at least with this, check out the size on that. That's a big bug, and they've got a really powerful bite. Let's see if we can get down here and show you a close-up of those mandibles. People describe them as looking like a cross between an ant and a cricket and a wasp. And most of the time when you read about them, you'll hear their name in Spanish. Niña de la Tierra, I think it is, which means child or children of the earth. So we'll come back to these at some point and do a proper video on them. Hope you've enjoyed your preview of this guy right here. All right, a millipede tank that includes a species I'm quite fond of. Well, this one out here on the surface, we'll just start there since the rest appear to be buried. Centrobolus splendidus. See a few mites crawling around in this tank. Springtails moving around. These are all pretty normal things in our pet bug tanks. You can see that the millipedes, though, are processing the substrate quite nicely. Those are fecal pellets. Go in a little closer there. I didn't realize there were so many mites in here, so for two reasons now I'm going to change this substrate out very soon. Number one, all the mites crawling around, they don't bother the millipedes. In fact, if you look closely here, I don't see any crawling on it whatsoever. They would really have to cluster a lot up and around the spiracles, the breathing holes of the millipede to do it any harm. That's just a really healthy looking millipede. I'd be tempted to sort of leave this tank as it is, but since they are also processing the substrate here pretty nicely, I'm going to change it out. That's a really important factor in the health of them. Let's see if we can dig down and find a few more of them. You can really see the fecal pellets in there too. I sort of don't like digging in my millipede tanks because there's always a chance that the reason that they're not at the surface is that they are underground molting. There's another one. Right there. Nice and coiled up, protecting itself. And there, a mite crawls on it, and some springtails walking nearby. There's a silver springtail, but definitely one of the prettiest of all millipedes. And it must have been covered up a moment ago. A lot of people get really concerned about mites. There's a lot of posts out there on the internet for decades now, people freaking out about mites, and half the time somebody sees something in their tank, they don't know what it is, and then they go on to a search engine and they land on a page where people are discussing mites, and the topic of conversation is always, it's like turning the news on, you know, it's like, what's happening here, and is this bad? And, you know, you only see a lot of people freaking out about something that isn't necessarily that big of a deal. It's best to avoid them. Mostly people just don't like looking at them, though. Looks like our millipede is getting a little bit more comfortable with the vibrations of my voice so near it, I guess, and this light right above it. If we can get some shots of it moving around a little bit. So this specimen here is probably an inch and a quarter, inch and a half long, and they'll grow up to about 4 inches. It's going to burrow down. So they don't get terribly large compared to many others, but you just can't beat those colors. And so this is a species that I hope to have around for a long, long time. Since it will probably be many years, maybe not, maybe it'll happen sooner, before I breed the devil's flower, Idolomantis diabolica here. Figured I'd give you a little preview of the species. I've tried and failed with them a few times, but you just kind of have to keep trying, because what a great mantis. They get huge too. This one is probably going to molt 3 or 4 more times, probably 3 more times. And, oh, the rocking back and forth. We love it when they do that. They move their heads around in robotic fashion. And the color there between the arms. When they're upset, they will actually flare those up. So many famous pictures of this if you Google them. They'll flare their arms up in the air around their heads, and so all of those colors will be facing forward on either side of the head, the arms outstretched. And it's sort of comical, sort of beautiful, and absolutely fascinating. Check out the spines there on the forearms. This mantis definitely means business. This is my container for it here. Kind of a funny thing. They can't climb smooth surfaces, and so I have glued these styrofoam ladders, I guess you could call them, up the sides. This species needs high heat, likes it up in the 90s. So I keep them under a ceramic heat emitter within a larger tank. One, two, three, four, five, 6 segments there on the abdomen. I was pretty sure this was a female. Just sort of can't get enough of looking at them. All right, on to the next bug. And this won't be too impressive, but they're in the category of something that I keep. I wouldn't normally even bother to mention. This is a Parcoblata americana, local cockroach here in the Pacific Northwest. Find them under rocks and things like that. And these are just 2 specimens that I found somewhat recently. The milky terminal appendages there are really interesting. And I'll probably go out and collect a few more of these, and with hopes of starting up a breeding colony of them. Another one for you there. We're in this container. I have something pretty interesting, in my opinion anyway. These spider beetles, they play dead really, really well. In fact, they pretty much look dead all the time. Oh, there's a few moving ones. I got these from a guy, and I mean, they are tiny. I got these from a guy, maybe, I don't know, I really don't even know, 7 years ago, maybe longer. And he told me the story that an entomology professor that he had given some to him. They were kept on the desk in his teacher's classroom. And then for 20 years, they sat in a single jar. And the person I got them from, he would simply put a single dog biscuit in there. And for 20 years, they sat on his own desk. He never added anything besides little dog biscuits, dog food basically. And 20 years they sat there, not a drop of water added, no vegetables, no fruits, nothing. And I just dropped these little fish food pellets in there for them. And they just kind of been doing their thing now all this time. So, pretty crazy little thing. I don't sell them. They are pests, but they're a neat thing to have around. I'll get the macro lens out and we'll take a closer look at them because they're really interesting up close. It's kind of weird to look at your own fingers at magnification and somehow you become a little disoriented and you're not sure what finger you're even looking at. I tried wiggling one and it wasn't the right one. Well, there it is. Our spider beetle managed to keep it in focus as it traveled across my hand somehow at magnification. Sometimes we get lucky like that. Hey, if you like me, give me one of those thumbs up, and please subscribe and hit the little bell so you know when I post next. Please share me with your friends on social media. Thank you for watching.